Episode 5, Series 5, The Sacred Space Between Who You Were and Who You Are Becoming. What no one tells you about the void, the chrysalis, and the rebirth of self. Have you noticed that some of the changes that used to matter no longer do? The goals, the ambitions, the roles, the identities, the things you worked so hard to achieve. You haven't become ungrateful. You haven't become lazy. You haven't lost your edge. But something has changed. Maybe conversations that once felt exciting now feel exhausting. Maybe you're less interested in impressing people. Maybe you're questioning things you never questioned before. Maybe you're realizing that what used to motivate you no longer moves you. And maybe, if you're being honest, that realization feels unsettling. Because if you're no longer who you used to be, then who are you becoming? Stay with me until the end, because what feels like confusion may actually be one of the most important transitions of your life. And if you have ever wondered whether you're losing yourself or finally finding yourself, this transmission is for you. A quote from Carl Jung: "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The problem with the void. Most people think transformation happens when everything suddenly becomes clear. It doesn't. More often, transformation begins when everything becomes unclear. We imagine growth as a straight line, insight, decision, breakthrough, freedom. But that is rarely how human transformation works. The nervous system does not like uncertainty. The brain does not like uncertainty. The ego certainly does not like uncertainty. The ego wants a plan, a guarantee, to know and understand. What happens next? Yet, every major transition in life contains a period where the old identity is dissolving and the new one has not fully emerged. That space can feel uncomfortable, lonely, disorienting, and even frightening. But that does not mean something is wrong. It may mean something is finally right. When science meets spirit, let's ground this. From a neuroscience perspective, your brain is constantly trying to predict what comes next. Predictability creates a sense of safety. The familiar feels safe even when it's no longer aligned. This is why people often stay in jobs they have outgrown, relationships they have outgrown, identities they have outgrown. The known feels safer than the unknown, even when the known is making them miserable. Spiritually, every tradition has described the same process: the hero's journey, the dark night of the soul, the wilderness, the desert, the chrysalis. Different names, same experience. The old self can no longer continue. The new self is not yet stable. And the invitation is trust. If this is you, if your tolerance for superficial conversations has decreased, if your body is asking for more rest, if your priorities are changing, if you find yourself questioning what success actually means, if you feel drawn toward authenticity more than approval, you may not be falling apart. You may be reorganizing. Leave a fire sign in the comments, subscribe, and share if this resonates. Not because I need the algorithm, but because someone reading your comments may realize they are not alone. The body is not living in the present. Let's talk about something most people never realize. Your mind may know it's 2026. Your body may not. The nervous system is designed to keep you safe, not necessarily authentic. And safety is often defined by what is familiar, not by what is true. This is why people can leave unhealthy relationships and still attract similar dynamics. Why can they change jobs and experiences the same frustrations? Why can they move across the world and still carry the same emotional burdens? Because the body remembers through somatic imprints. The subconscious remembers through stored memories and adaptive patterns. The nervous system remembers through neural pathways. It repeats what it believes is safe while in survival mode. Even when it is no longer serving you, when there is no longer any danger, even when you've outgrown it, even when it hurts. This is why awareness alone doesn't create change. You can understand your patterns intellectually and still find yourself recreating them. Because transformation happens when the body finally receives the message, the emotional ecosystem stabilizes, and the nervous system feels stable and safe enough to reorganize, and consciousness is free to expand. The danger is over. You don't have to be that version of yourself anymore. Pause for a moment. What pattern keeps showing up in your life even though you know better? Write it down. Not in your head, actually write it down. Awareness begins the process. Radical honesty accelerates it. Why you keep waking up as yesterday? Here's something fascinating. Most people think they wake up to a new day. In reality, they often wake up to yesterday, almost on autopilot. The same thoughts, the same emotional patterns, the same assumptions, the same identity, the same nervous system responses, the same subconscious programs. Every morning, we unconsciously rehearse who we believe ourselves to be. And over time, that rehearsal becomes identity. This is what keeps people trapped, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack potential, because the subconscious loves efficiency. It will keep replaying the familiar script until something interrupts it, until awareness enters, until the choice to align to different frequencies is made, and the new vibrational state is maintained, and when embodiment happens as a default state. The question is no longer, who have I been? The question becomes, who am I practicing becoming? What vibrational state I choose to align with? Because identity is not only inherited, identity is rehearsed, especially when triggers and old programs reassert themselves. When you wake up tomorrow morning, before touching your phone, ask yourself, what version of me do I choose to embody today? What vibrational state do I choose to inhabit today? That single question can change everything. Awareness notices, embodiment transforms. One of the biggest myths in personal growth is that awareness is enough. It isn't. Awareness notices, embodiment transforms. Awareness says, I see the pattern. Embodiment says, I no longer need the pattern. I choose to thank it, release it, and replace it with empowering patterns more aligned with my truth. I choose coherence, not reactivity. Awareness lives in the mind. Embodiment lives in the nervous system, in the body, in your relationships, in your boundaries, in your choices, in your ability to remain yourself when life becomes uncomfortable. Many people collect insights, few integrate them. The goal isn't more information, the goal is coherence and integration. The goal is becoming the person who naturally lives the truth they already understand. What's one truth you've known for years but haven't fully embodied yet? Leave it in the comments. Be surprised how many others are walking the same path. Why your healing matters more than you think. This may be one of the most important things I said today. Your healing is not just personal. Every nervous system influences other nervous systems. This is science, resonance, entrainment. This refers to the main aspects of the vibrational reality we live in. Not philosophy, not spirituality. Science calls it co-regulation. The state of one person affects the people around them. Spiritually, indigenous traditions have understood this for generations. We do not heal in isolation. We heal in relationships, in community, in connection, not only with oneself but the environment at large. When one person breaks a cycle, the future changes, for the lineage, for the collective. When one person learns emotional regulation, future generations benefit and past generations are healed and liberated. The mystics always knew that when one person breaks a toxic pattern, it reverberates through 7 generations forward and backward. When one person stops passing down fear, shame, silence, or self-abandonment, an entire lineage receives a new possibility. This also makes the process of individuation, a shift in consciousness, more accessible to all that comes after you, rippling throughout the collective grid. You may never fully understand the impact of your healing, but I assure you it is greater than you think. If you're doing this work not only for yourself, but for the generations before and after you, leave a heart emoji in the comments. Let's acknowledge the cycle breakers in this community. The grief nobody talks about. Let's talk about something that deserves more attention. There is grief in growth, not because growth is bad, because growth changes things permanently and often drastically. As identity shifts, a whole new world emerges that matches the emergent true self, like the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis, like the seed piercing through the soil. There is a phase transition that closes the door to the old, reality and identity, and along with it all that pertain to that world and its obsolete constructs. You may grieve relationships that no longer fit. You may grieve old dreams and goals. You may grieve versions of yourself that worked very hard to get you here. The achiever, the people pleaser, the perfectionist, the hero, the caretaker, the rescuer, the strong one, the one who never asked for help. Those identities protected you. They helped you survive and adapt when you were in survival mode. And now they are being asked to rest as you step into creator mode as an embodied sovereign being. And that deserves compassion, not criticism, comparison, competition, or judgment. You are in many ways entering uncharted territory, and that takes courage, compassion, and another level of trust. Quote, "What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly." Richard Bach. The integration paradox. Here is something that surprises almost everyone. Healing is not linear, it's more like a spiral. You will revisit old patterns more than once, and every time at a different depth of awareness. You will revisit old fears from a new perspective each time. You will revisit old wounds and will reframe them differently, de-escalating the emotional charge until the lessons, energy, and power are integrated, not because you are failing, but because you are seeing them from a different level of awareness. The goal is not perfection or fragmentation. The goal is choice and wholeness. The space between stimulus and response gets bigger and holds the opportunity to exercise your true free will, to remain and react, or choose and respond. Ideally, the reaction becomes a response. The survival strategy becomes an option instead of an obligation or a reflex. That is progress. That is an inside job first. That is embodiment. This is wholeness. This is freedom. The love that rebuilds the self. This is where I believe many teachings stop too soon. Awareness, insight, shadow work, it all matters. But eventually something else must enter the room. Love as the most powerful frequency, as consciousness, as the generating and creative principle around which all organizes. Not as romantic love, not as earned love, not performance-based love. The kind of love that says, I no longer need to earn my worth, I was born worthy. I no longer need to prove I belong to life itself. I no longer need to justify my existence. I exist, therefore I am enough. That is not arrogance, that is the truth. And when that truth lands in the body, everything begins to change. You are not behind. Let's settle something once and for all. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not failing your healing journey. You are not missing some secret everyone else figured out. You are in process. You are the path, the purpose. And the process has its own timing, its own rhythm, its own cycles. A tree does not apologize for winter. A seed does not apologize for taking root before it blooms. A chrysalis does not apologize for breaking to make way for the butterfly to take flight. Neither should you. Before you go, I want to leave you with two questions. What old false self are you ready to release? And what part of yourself are you remembering? Read the comments, reply to someone, encourage someone, because the truth is, most people think they work in this path alone. They're not. In the absolute, there is no separation. We are waking up to the truth that we are all interconnected in more ways than one. And if this message found you at exactly the right moment, subscribe and join us. Not because we need more followers, but because we're building a community of people choosing truth over performance, embodiment over information, and freedom over survival. And that's a conversation worth continuing. Closing transmission. The void was never empty. It was full of your unlimited potential. It was never a punishment. It was never evidence that you were lost. It was the sacred space where the false could no longer survive and the true had not fully emerged. It was where your nervous system learned safety and stabilized for further expansion, where your heart held deeper trust and unshakable faith, where your soul remembered its name. And one day, you will look back and realize something beautiful. The season you feared most was the season that gave you back to yourself, because you were never going to become someone else. You were remembering who you were all along underneath the mistaken identity and layers of false programs. And that, my friend, changes everything. Now, let's keep walking each other home. Welcome to your tribe. The frequency calls, the fire rises. Enter at your own shift. Still Fire 1111. And if this resonated with you, subscribe to the series. Download the free ebook Energy is Everything, Using Science and Spirit to Master Vibrational Reality, free for subscribers of Still Fire 1111. And to celebrate my launch on Heal Me, book a free 20-minute discovery call. This is not about becoming someone else. This is about finally allowing who you are to organize your life. Heal deep, rise sovereign. The fire rises, and now it radiates. Enter at your own shift. Welcome.